This is Rick. And at 41 years old, he's facing a situation that most of us will experience in our lifetime.
There are days specifically where I wake up and I feel like I've both made it and I'm making it. There's days where I compare myself to the people and the things around me that I see, and I have that sense of self-doubt because I've got folks that depend on me, and if I burn out, I feel like the ship goes down. Surprised
No
me
way.
when I saw it. Yeah. But do you want to see something crazy? Look at how I could destroy myself.
$164,800. My name is Romain, and for the past 10 years, I've been on a quest to tackle America's toughest personal finance situations. Leveraging my Ivy League master degree and personal experience, I've found solutions for what seems impossible. In 1 year, you can completely be in a different spot. Are we ready to take action?
Yes.
Will this be the one I cannot solve? Let's see what happens. Let's look at your profile. You are 41 years old, married with a young child of 8 years old and one on the way. You're originally from Minnesota. You currently live as well in Minnesota and you work as a high school teacher. Is that right?
That's right.
Looking at the way you've rated your personal finance from chilling to many, you rated yourself as, I'm okay, this is great to hear, but it's not all rainbows and sunshine. What's going on?
I feel bombarded by uncertainty at times where I know I've made good decisions as far as my life and my finances, but in the daily grind of opening up your phone and looking at social media and trying to look at things about finance, either on YouTube or elsewhere, I just want to make sure that I'm making the best calls possible and bringing as much balance as I possibly can to myself and my future, and most importantly to me, my family, as the future goes on.
In a way, financially, you've gotten there, but you feel kind of either pressured by society that has expectations on you to pretty much have it all together. You know, you should know what's the next best decision for your family, and you should know what moves and what the future lends. But like many of you, and like me as well, this comes with kind of uncertainty. And from speaking briefly with you before our interaction here, you're kind of suffering in a way in an imbalance where you don't really know if you're even enough. Walk me through kind of this emotion of what you're feeling day to day, and kind of from the ground up, what has been kind of your financial situation that led to sit here today?
Right. When I look on paper, my perception of myself is I know I'm doing as good as, if not better than, the median of a lot of people. So I have this confidence in my sense of self with that. I know I've made good decisions with certain things, but when I compare myself to other folks that I see online and even my own friend group, I have one of my very close high school friends. He complains that you can only contribute $7,000 a month or a year to your IRA. And I'm going to be honest with you, Roman, I just kind of learned what a Roth IRA even was even a couple of months ago. And then to hear my buddy complaining that $7,000 a year isn't enough, I just start to doubt myself in a way. And I'm just here to seek a listening ear and sensitivity and hopefully just some clarity, and if I'm making the right decisions and what I just need to do just to make sure that, most importantly, my budding family, coming soon here, is taken care of and is ready for the future. So just that overall idea of balance mentally and financially here. And I think that it's that cycle of having my finances in order is going to help me feel that mental balance and positivity as well, and that sense of peace.
Yes, I mean, peace, I think, is really well said, because in a way, I feel, guys, and I think it applies to so many age brackets, is that right now, in a way, I feel like our society has been changing over time.
Even over the last 5 years, it's changed significantly, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, our attention has gone out the window, the sense of focus, and I feel like people have become more and more anxious. I mean, you're literally being bombarded on a daily basis with pretty much opinions from all across the world. Everybody has a voice. I have a voice myself, I must say, and sometimes it's kind of an overflow of information, and I believe that this actually is impacting you in your day-to-day living.
Yeah. There are days specifically where I wake up and I feel like I've both made it and I've making it and I've made all the right decisions and continue to. And there's days where I compare myself to the people and the things around me that I see, and I have that sense of self-doubt, in particular as a guy that I jokingly say is on the back nine of my life. I turned 41 this summer, and I hesitate to use the word sometime because I think it's overdone, but I feel like I am truly battling this notion of burnout. As a teacher of high school students who are always watching, even when you don't think they are, I feel the not only the pressure but the responsibility to be the best that I can be for them. After all, I'm the role model, quote unquote, whether I like it or not in the room. I feel a sense of burnout mounting from trying to do the same thing with my own family and my own daughter now and my own new daughter coming that's on the way. And I feel that burnout just with aging parents, and I'm beginning to make a lot of those decisions and that about them. And if when they need something from me, I'm kind of parenting the parents for the first time in my life. And it's a lot, man. And it's one of these things where I'm just worried about myself in the process because I've got folks that depend on me. And if I burn out, I feel like the ship goes down. So I just feel like I'm battling this notion of when is, not when am I going to snap necessarily, but how much can somebody reasonably take before bad things start to happen, be it mentally or physically or financially or whatever the case. And on top of that, my two goals here, goal number one is just to find balance of how to do that, how to balance all these responsibilities at once. And goal number two, truth be told, it's never been my goal to be a millionaire. At the end of the day, would it be nice? You bet it would, but like, the balancing the now, the experiences now, the fun now, the being present mentally, physically for my family now, with the balancing again with the foresight of looking ahead as well. And it's one of these things that money has never been a be all end all for me. It's been a means of conveyance to get me to an experience, yet at the same time, I know that I still need to be more intentional with how I approach it.
One of the first things that you told me at some point when we first met is the sense of being lucky that you have. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, Romain, again, I'm a lucky guy, and I have the most worth in that anybody can have, and that's a loving wife. We're going to be celebrating our 11th year anniversary this June. I have my 8-year-old, and I have one on the way, and I have a full account of love. I can tell you that. And the path that I've taken, I had a wonderful high school experience with a friend group that we continue to support one another to this very day, and we're there through thick and thin. And it's an experience that I worry that, like my high school students, they don't develop today for all kinds of reasons. I went through school. I got the American certification, that rubber stamp on my bachelor's degree and my master's degree in education. And I'm not saying, Romain, that I didn't work hard in my life, but the fact of the matter is I got lucky with a lot of my things because I was fortunate enough to have that support network. And with that said, I still feel that I can only bank on that luck to a certain extent. I fear that I don't want that luck to run dry. You know what I'm saying? I fear that I need to be, ooh, boy, I got lucky there. What are the things that I need to continue to do, as well as behaviors that I need to continue to change?
In a way, I aligned with you in fearing the fact that things may be maybe too good for now, or something is going to happen that's going to shake the boat. You almost feel like you're expecting something to go wrong because it feels that it's too good,
Right.
you know? And it's funny because we always kind of in that search of reaching that moment where things are finally working. And then when that moment comes, you fear the fact that it's going to fade away.
Right.
And, you know, I'm finding myself also in that situation where, you know, there are some days where I wake up and I, you know, I feel very fortunate about the situation of speaking with you today instead of being in front of my computer on a cubicle and doing X, Y, and Z. Like, my life has completely changed over the course of the past few years to a direction that I didn't expect it at all. And in ways that financially have not panned out for me right now. But at its root, I thought, you know, that money was going to be the key. Because when I left France, conquering the American dream, putting myself into that kind of line that you're expecting to succeed, I reached the top. I was at the top at 28 years old, making over $200,000 at Amazon headquarters. I had it all, my friend.
God.
On paper, I had it all. I had the house, I had the dog, I had the fiancé, I had the cars, I had the boat. You could say this guy literally has made it. And
Did you feel like you lacked a sense of purpose in that moment?
But I was miserable.
Yeah.
And so what I want to interact with you in that way is that in some ways I've made the self-decision to completely alter the trajectory of my life in ways that financially, well, I can clearly tell you I'm not panning out. I mean, the channel that you guys are watching right now has made zero despite hours, and actually not hours, thousands of hours at this point, contributing on this, working different jobs, 80 hours a week for the most of this channel's time. And still with that, pushing on all fronts, you know, burning out a few times in the process, I keep telling myself, Romain, are you enough? Are you doing enough? Is that the right move? You know, is that it? And so as I reflect, and as you've also reflected over time, you're kind of putting yourself in that circle when, as you guys will see in this story, financially, you've put yourself in a pretty good spot, right? There are still some few things that we're going to discuss together, but financially, most of the people that will watch this video will say, wow, this guy's got it. And still, you see, guys, it is very interesting. We are always thriving towards something more, something greater, when on most of your bases, you've actually covered yourself really well. So we'll see how this transition. But I always wonder, you know, what is the life of a person like yourself thinks? Because you always think, oh, if I'm going to get this, if I'm going to get Y, then my life is going to be so much better. Right. And in a way, myself at such a young age, I was able to get those X, Y that I thought were going to be it. Quickly, I realized that it was actually
not. It didn't do it for you.
Yeah, which is interesting. So let's see how this... Oh, and I also meant to say, I think that in a way, our society, also expectations of life have been changing over time, because of the expectations that are set with social media. You know, you're kind of looking at social media and the greatest life that people have, and you're here on your cubicle or working at your 9-to-5 job, and you're like, what the hell am I doing here? And I think that there's going to be a moment where that hybrid situation is not going to work any longer. And that's something that you also seeing in your profession, because you are at the root of all of that and you're seeing the impact of this in the future generation. How do you witness that?
My students struggle significantly with a couple of things. If I had to categorize it, their resolve is one thing. They hit a conflict and they immediately fold. And rather than trying to walk through, how do I critically figure this out? What steps can I take? They fold. And I can't help but think that so much of that has been created by, they grew up in a world where the strongest muscle in their body is their thumb, I swear to God. And a world of instant gratification, a world of expectations that are set by the term influencer, right? And that don't represent a reality that's true. It's manufactured, right? At a time in these kids' lives where they're vulnerable. It's just part of growing up. And when we look again at like fortitude, they really struggle. When they look at socialization, they really, really struggle. When we look at like just their perception of what something costs. One of my high school kids, if I said, hey, so-and-so, how much do you think a brand new car is? There'd be kids that would tell me $10,000. And there'd be kids that would tell me $300,000 because they have truly no idea. They see their reality through the lens, through the perception of social media, right? And I'm not immune to that either, is the thing. So much of, I think, again, a reason why I'm sitting here is that I see other folks online that have the bigger, nicer truck than I have, and the bigger, nicer house than I have, and in the this or that. And it sows a seed of self-doubt, and it sows a seed of fear that, well, wait a minute, is my sense of success the right sense of success? And I think I have a sense of purpose, and I think I've called myself a lucky guy in our conversation. And as a teacher for going on 16 years now, married to an even more talented nurse going on about 10 years now, both my wife and I are very satisfied with the purpose in our lives. And I think for a lot of people, when they struggle for purpose, that's what leads them to do destructive decisions with their health and the things they put in their body and the peer groups that they associate with and the things that they spend their money on. And I've been lucky in my life to where my job provides me that sense of purpose on a daily basis. I know when I retire at 65 years old or 67, whatever the hell it is, to claim my pension, I know I made the right decision with that. It's all the other decisions that I find myself worrying about. Did I do the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? In those kinds of things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a perfect transition as we start thriving into the numbers and see how you've turned out financially with all of this. First, starting with your salary, 16 years in the job as a high school teacher, how much does that provide you?
It's about $95,000 a year, just short of $95,000 a year.
Excellent. And what's interesting, as you mentioned, you've been married to your wife for 11 years. You guys combined your finances.
Yeah.
She's a nurse, and she makes.
She makes about $62,000, I want to say.
Okay, so together that brings your couple joint income to $157,760.
Wow.
Question for you is, do you guys have any other source of income at this time?
No.
Okay, so purely basing off those two, that brings your net per month at $10,052.
Yeah.
Right? And for the most part, what's nice about it is that your jobs are pretty secured. You know, that's kind of the good thing for that. You pretty much know how to expect. And over time, as you progress through years and tenure, you actually, what's amazing is often is really well organized to the point at which you brought me the expectations for your salary when you max out. So you're almost there at that bracket. The maximum that you will make in your life through that job is about 103,000.
Correct.
277. But again, we are expecting this to adjust for inflation as they renegotiate the contract every 2 years.
Yeah, every 2 years they cycle with that. So to tie back to this refrain again about feeling lucky, right? Just this idea that my job as a teacher and her job as a nurse, I mean, there's circumstances to where we could lose those jobs too, right? If it'd be delusional to think that that's bulletproof as well. But like recession proof, right? I mean, teaching and nursing is just one of those things that they're pretty much always going to need it. Geographically, in our future, if we choose to move around, it's something that's relatively secure.
No, thank you so much for kind of providing us more insight on that. Now, let's transition into what you own. So, you pretty much join your accounts with your partner. Everything is kind of joined. A question for you: how does finances interact at home? Is her money your money, vice versa? What's the dynamic here with how you guys manage your money?
That's a good question. We treat it as just kind of the accounts, the big pot, so to speak. And we've pretty much always done that since, I mean, even really before we were married.
Do you guys did a prenup in any way?
No.
No? So from the moment you guys got married, your money was her money and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how has that dynamic play?
That's gone well. She's got the logins for it. I've got the logins for it. When we get a deposit, we're both pinged on our phones. And I keep a relatively rudimentary kind of paper ledger here as well. And then we'll do a thing where, well, for example, I just got paid today, and I just said the other day, I said, hey, we've got about $500 in that checking account. Just keep that in mind, because she needed to go to Costco or whatever, until that hits today. And then usually once that check hits, whatever's left, I'll just move it over to like the emergency fund or whatever. I kind of pretend that it doesn't exist. I treat it like Monopoly money and just to forget about it.
I mean, guys, let's look at the specifics of it, because it's kind of like a point of impact, and then it gets dispersed all over the place. Before we dive into the numbers, guys, I want to share one thing that I've seen people doing over and over when they start making real money, is that they don't set things up the right way right from the beginning. The business makes income, and then they put that money into a personal checking account, and then they use, the same card from that account to pay for random stuff that have nothing to do with the business. And then when tax season comes, it's a mess. And that's why, guys, I recommend Relay, a preferred partner on the channel. It's a business banking partner that helps you stay organized from day one. You can create multiple checking accounts for income, expenses, tax, whatever you need, and even assign virtual cards to keep it all clean. No account fees, no minimums, and it's working whether or not you're a solo entrepreneur or you're working with a team. If you're serious about your side hustle or your business, Relay is definitely a company that I invite you guys to check out by following the link in the description below. You currently have on your checking account $3,017.
Correct.
And then you have what you refer as vaults.
Yeah.
So it drops in, and then poof, it moves on a daily basis. One is for your emergency fund, one is for your daughter, one is for the suspension on the camper, which we'll be discussing on that front. But pretty much you're kind of sending money through all of that. Together in all those vaults, emergency related funds, you have 11,747. What is the idea behind having this money moving automatically?
It's not set up as an automatic thing. And
you do it every day?
I do it manually. And one of the things, to tie back to that Anxious Generation book that I was talking about, and you recently had a guest on too that was discussing basically the psychology of like profitability, I guess we can.
I'm going to put the video right here for you guys to check it out. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And the Anxious Generation and that guest, I forgot what his name was, but he was a hell of a smart guy.
Mike.
He discussed the behavior and psychology-based science almost behind it, in this notion of a dopamine hit. And I think of my students who struggle with this idea of addiction almost. And it's just every time you do that flip, it's because your brain is getting a little of dopamine, right? That's not by an accident. And you and I know that, right? And that's engineered by these companies to take advantage of a vulnerable brain, especially as far as the kids are concerned.
I fall into it too.
Absolutely.
I tell you, it's crazy.
Absolutely, right? And we're in these patterns of I mean, my mom is horrible with it too. All this shit all the every day on Facebook. Look at this, look at this, look at it. It's all AI generated nonsense, typically political, right? And it's just, she's just as addicted as the kids. I wouldn't tell her that really, but she's just as addicted to the kids. It's hacking human behavior, right? And it's one of these things where I kind of tell myself that if I can hack it in a positive way, and that's what that guest was discussing, that you can kind of game the game in a way, right? So what I do then is every morning I set up I sit there and I do, as I crawl out of bed and as I can't freaking see straight, I make my cup of coffee and on my phone, I transfer that $25 in from the checking account to the emergency fund. And it's one of these things, I know this is going to sound stupid, but once I put it in, you have to like slide your thumb to make the transaction go through, right? And there's almost to that motion, it's kind of like a sense of peace that I get from that because I know biologically there's that brain chemistry that's happening, okay? And then at the end of the month, it doesn't feel much on a daily basis, but then at the end of the month, provided something doesn't go crazy, like just recently we had to dive into that, almost $3,000 to get a tree taken out of the backyard that I was worried was going to fall on the house. We have an aging truck that I just did a brake job on. That was $700, and then a water pump and some other stuff. So about another $1,000 on the truck, right? I still see that go up by $750 a month or whatever the case is. So it just brings me that sense of peace and balance to try and counteract some of those icky feelings that I articulated at the beginning of our conversation.
Very interesting play, guys. As you see, everyone has their own techniques when it comes to saving money. It doesn't have to be as drastic. You just have to work with something that works for you. In that case, it's kind of hacking your brain to give you that hits.
Yeah.
You're actually doing something positive rather than spending it on Amazon X, Y.
Right. Because it's engineered to do the opposite, right? When I feel that my life is out of control, when I buy something, it makes you feel good. Like that's a fact, right? And one of the sillier things that I do is that my truck, okay, my wife hates this about me. I get this from my dad, who is a fanatic with his vehicles, okay? I have the holiday car wash pass. It's $37 a month. It's an unlimited car wash pass. It sounds stupid, right? What I do then, probably every other day before I go to work, I get up earlier to make sure I'm to work on time. I got my coffee. I take the truck through the car wash. I always get, my friends at work are always, damn, that thing looks clean. That feels good to hear people say that because I'm insane with that. But it's a mechanism of control. When everything is going to shit around me, that truck is going to stay clean. Does that make sense? And I take it through the car wash and I sit there and it's some reflective time for me in the morning. I mean, is it financially responsible? Probably not. I mean, I could throw $40 at something else, but it's one of these things that, again, consumerism hacks our brains as well to make us spend money because it feels good, right? And that's something that, again, your other guest really, I think, articulated well. That was impressive to me.
Yeah, I had a similar emotion to you in a way on when I think about the way we use money and at home as well. Those are some of the principles that just go beyond the basic, I need X on my checking account, X on saving account. There is this notion of game, right? There is this notion of like, I am highly competitive in everything I do for the most part. And I see personal finance in my eyes as a game. You can either play the game and it's going to give you so much more in ways satisfaction than folding to it. Something that you mentioned to you, for example, was I used to be subscribed to cinema, right? To go to the movie theater. And it cost me $22 a month.
Right.
And somehow I would milk that system the same way you're doing it for your car wash because it's not a necessary expense, but it gave me that, man, you won here. You've won in a way because you're kind of giving yourself satisfaction through maybe an expense that's not crazy, right? We're not speaking thousands. If you were telling me your car wash is hundreds of dollars when I'm not saving around Faure and so on, I would tell you what the hell.
Right.
But to something like this, I say 100% go for it. Right, guys? If you have that thing, it could be, subscribing to a gym. It could be subscribing to a certain hobby that, again, is not going to put you into financial burden. freaking go for it, because those mechanisms give you the life satisfaction that you at least have a structure and an anchor that you can rely on. The human being loves routine in ways.
Like a process, like you mentioned, right? And then in addition to all that, it's just an accountability mechanism for me to avoid putting things on the credit cards as much as humanly possible. When I slide that money over there, it feels like my money. When I put it on the credit card, it just feels like somebody else's money, right? And sometimes we still do that to take advantage of like the reward points and all that. We pay them off at the end of every month. There's one that I'm sure we'll go through.
Well, a little bit of debt.
Right, that is at 0%, and we kind of tried to game that. But really, in a perfect world, I probably shouldn't even have done that, because that's hacking into my minimum monthlies that I could be sliding over into the other things. So,
Yeah, but again, that's because you've been able to hold on an anchor of an income salary that's coming through.
Yeah.
That works if you have that anchor. If you don't have anchor, this whole concept, this whole castle of cards falls on itself, because then who is liable for all of the damage here that's being done? Always playing on that fine line, transitioning as we continue to go through your account. So you have those two kind of easily accessible money. I mean, in terms of cash, that's kind of what you have here, summing to about $15,000 or so. Now, you've invested yourself like crazy into cars, and we're speaking tens of thousands of dollars. You have two massive trucks. One is a 2021 Ford F-350, valued at, our friend here brought us the Katie Blue Book, so I can't deny on it. What is it? 58,671.
correct.
That is crazy for a truck, you know? And then you also have another truck on the other one at an F-150 at 17,655. Total cars, you have about $75,000. When in cash, you have 15. That's a little bit of a intriguing point, right? I would rather have the opposite in ways.
Flipped around, yeah. When you put it like that.
Especially when we look at another form of toy that I considered as such, which is a camper that you also earn money on, valued at around $15,300. So this is kind of your fun package, summing together to about $91,000. What do you feel about this?
That sounds high. It sounds intimidating, right? Because I know it's one of these things that income-wise, I know there's a lot coming in, but out expense-wise, I know there's a lot to that.
But we'll be speaking on that debt, because there is some debt behind that. You've also set yourself very nicely when it comes to real estate. You own a house with a mortgage in Minnesota that has for value, and you brought the bank assessment that they're sending you that every single month, which is awesome to hear, at, what is it, 400, I have it noted at 453,263. And what's nice to see, though, is that since you've purchased it, the house value has grown it by 60%.
Yeah.
Which is not bad, actually. You purchased it in 2016. Okay. I mean, you're going slower than the S&P 500. On average, it takes you about 7 years to double your money when investing in the market. And here, you've gone up 60% in about 8 years. Oh, you're below the market, but it's providing you safety, especially when we look at the rate that you have.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to kind of say that right away. You own $260,000 on that house, so at a rate of 2.9%, which is crazy. That means in terms of house equity right now, you're positive $193,000. You also have other things. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is thanks to the government.
Yeah.
You have access to a pension, and that pension, you are pretty much kind of putting money every month on that. So that's kind of your retirement fund, $79,315. Your partner, though, doesn't really have anything set up. She has her own little pension, but we're not speaking big money here. And just recently, you've also opened a Roth IRA, finally, where you have $300. I don't see anything for your kids yet. other than a small emergency fund for them. Nothing has been invested, and yourself have not partake into investing into the market, for example, or any crypto, anything. What's kind of preventing you from entering that?
I've just really never thought about it, to be completely honest with you. I was always of the mind, and I know that sounds silly, but I was always just of the mindset that there's the pension there, and that'll be good enough, right? That'll cover it, right? And put it plainly, it would just chip into the fund now, right? And it's just one of those things that I feel like I screwed that up a little bit. I can't make up for lost time, but going forward, how do we correct for that as much as humanly possible?
That's right, and we'll be diving into that. But together today at 41 years old, Rick, that brings your total assets for you and your family combined at $639,242. This is nice, but there is, again, some debt. A question that I had for you earlier that I want to dive into this. Who manages the finance in the family?
We both do.
So she knows about this?
Oh yeah. We both do. In terms of that stuff, I'm a little bit more on point, so to speak, with that. Like, I'm the one that'll initiate, like, hey, Bon, come here and look at this, right? And she just kind of is just given that responsibility to me. But like, that's not a topic that we argue about. That's not a topic that creates any discord in our marriage. We try and be as transparent with one another as humanly possible.
If something like this would arise, maybe at some point there was something about money. I mean, let's be honest. The number one case for people getting into a divorce is generally money.
Right.
When you've been faced with a situation when money is of the issue, what have you been doing to kind of help the case?
We just talk through things. Her flexibility in her job is really nice. It's rather easy for her to like pick up a shift or two to just bring in a little bit more if we need it. Now, knock on wood, we haven't really been in that position really yet. With the baby coming up, though, a thing that I want to be asking us about is we're going to have an expense of daycare again coming up. I'm going to try and game the system a little bit because we can do some creative things with my wife's schedule versus my schedule. But that will be another expense that we haven't had for at least a few years at this point that's going to kick in and displace some of this other stuff. So to return to this refrain of balance again, I know that I have to do some rebalancing in my life, and I accept that.
Now let's see how you've been able to go acquire those assets, and in many ways through debt, as we look at your total amount and your spending. So I'm going to go straight again, guys. Mortgage, we spoke about it, $259,994. That's 2.9% interest, magic, on a house that you refinanced in 2021. Monthly expense for your house is $2,300 on the mortgage, but you have also small expenses left and right, gas, electricity, internet, and so on, about $2,900 or 28.7% of your income. Ladies and gentlemen, we like it to be below 28, so you're spot on the mark. Very nice. And now looking at your transportation expense with regards to that F-350, you're paying on it $856 per month. What is nice is though you don't have payments on that other F-150. Combined with gas, which in the state of Minnesota, you guys are pretty low. I think around like what?
$2.85-ish.
A gallon, not too bad. In Vegas, I'm at $3.50. And in California, it's like 4.7. So big cheers. But you're spending looking at your statement, about $330 per month.
Yeah.
And then insurance, you're also at around $308. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings our friend transportation expenses to a perfect 15% of your expense.
Wow.
28% of housing, 15% of transportation. Right now, my friend, you are spot on. But it's not all rainbow. We'll be diving into some of those expenses. So as we mentioned previously, As soon as the money comes into your account every morning, you move it into vaults. One of the big expenses that I'm seeing is with regards to that camper. It's an expensive venture. Right now, we are about to enter the season where you're going to bring it out.
Right.
And that's kind of tapping into some of your savings, but it's also your joy. I see recently, as you mentioned, you've had some big expenses with your axles and so on, a couple $100 to have that work as a bullet when you're driving with that 350 because safety is of the precedence. But
That's
what
right.
I'm seeing as well is that you're spending a really big amount on food, but not in crazy spaces. Most of your food comes from Walmart, it appears, to the amount of about calculated 1,200 per month.
Right.
How come your food budget is so high?
Yeah, when we basically need something, we go and get it as far as that goes. We could do better prepping and planning. The nice thing is that right in our neighborhood, like we live a stone's throw from everything we need. So it's nice in the summer because then I literally ride my bike to like, oh, we need this, we need that. And I just get it, right? But like there definitely could be more intentionality there, especially with like meal prepping and stuff like that we should be doing and we could be doing.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what you're doing is that you're protecting and paying your bills on time across everything, not spending a crazy amount going out, though.
Try not to.
Probably because you also have the kid at home that you need to take care of. And we'll be thinking about, I think I'm going to surprise you in some of my recommendations.
Okay.
You're not really spending monies in bars and so on. You have a few subscriptions. I think that Goodwill is a good partner for you guys. You guys love Goodwill.
We use that for a lot of clothes and stuff like that because I just can't see spending all kinds of money on something that it just really doesn't matter, to be honest with you. And that's right. And it's just A, it'll be obsolete. B, the quality of the stuff you buy is pretty poor to begin with. So
I mean, one of the other things that I'm seeing is that you have 4 dogs.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen,
four
what is
doggos.
so nice to see is you have...
pet insurance.
Let's
on 3
go!
of them at least.
For 3 of them,
On
right?
3 of them at least.
You guys know I love this partner. They've been the one on the channel since the beginning. They've been the one that I've been using on my dogs. It's Lemonade. If you have a pet or renters insurance, they are just booming all over the place. Affordable price. I personally love them. We have a link in the description below. Looking at some of the rest of your expenses, working for the government, your medical is covered all over. And what is nice to see as well is that you're frugal when it comes to your communication and subscriptions. I see a few things here for Google and so on, but in some ways, I mean, everything is kind of like setting yourself and your family for strong financials, a little bit of like Las Margaritas Mexican. What was that? Here I see a few transactions here. You guys are getting that mojito of some sort.
That was my wife. She's not consuming alcohol, just to get that out ahead of this. But my wife had some ultrasounds, and I took the day off to see the growth of the baby. So just to celebrate a healthy baby that looks like everything is going to be okay, because we had a couple of scares along the way. We went out and celebrated.
What is your wife philosophy with using money? Does she goes on like shopping sprees and so on? Or, I mean, I see a few Target and stuff, but nothing crazy. Maybe 1-2 transactions here a month. What's the idea behind it? You guys kind of like, she has a card and she goes on those? What's going on?
Yeah, we're pretty much on the same page with that kind of stuff like that. In those statements there, when you see a Walmart or a Target, that is typically food and or some other household thing. That's not like gadgets or electronics or stuff like that.
What do you do when you have to buy something that's crazy expensive?
Well, Roman, you saw that in my one of my vaults. I have specifically set aside a vault called Camper Suspension Upgrade. And as that implies, it's going to be an upgrade to the suspension in my camper, both for ride quality and safety as well. We plan on driving that and using that camper till the wheels fall off of it. It's not going to be insanely expensive. It's not going to be cheap.
How much is it?
about $600, give or take.
But you're still budgeting for months.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at this like I see one. It's funny. You're putting $5 every day from it.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting that dopamine
into that,
hit.
yeah. So then, like by June, when I do this thing, I want to say there should be about $700. I don't think I'm going to need all that. I just don't want to put it on a credit card. That's the thing. Like it's they're so damn easy to run up. Again, they don't feel like your money when you're doing it. It feels like you're getting it for free, which it's you're not, and that's just like the social media companies. That's a planned thing. They're hacking your psychology and my psychology. And I'm really trying to get out of the habit of just running up the debt.
Speaking of your camper, I see some debt on it. 24,202 at an interest rate of 5.3%. You're paying about $260 per month on it. And the camper is worth 15.
Or so I think. It's so damn hard to get a grasp on that. But like I would be surprised if they went above that if I went to trade it in.
Unless it's not a crazy expensive debt. I know you have for questions, should you prioritize spending it off? And I will tell you, heck no. There are other things that I want to prioritize together.
Yeah.
We'll be speaking on that front. You will see, guys, some juicy recommendations here, things that you may not be expecting. Student loans, $19,500 for your wife at an interest rate of 4%.
Right.
Monthly payments are pretty reasonable, around $300 or so. I also see that you have a credit card that you've mentioned that you're working to pay in full, but you're still carrying a balance because it has that 0%. I don't like this mindset at all. Okay, I don't like that. If we can take care of that, even if it's attractive. I mean, if I was going to say safety-wise, are you, good when it comes to 0% interest? I would say, yeah, because you have that guaranteed income. So you're not the bad consumer to have something like this, but we just want to take care of that shit. Right. Let's not even think about it. Let's not play the system. You're saving yourself what? If it was maybe thousands and thousands of dollars, I could consider that. Right now, it's kind of
silly.
It's silly. It doesn't make sense for you to even witness that. I like the fact, though, that, and I want to encourage you, because you are a good consumer for that, to potentially leverage credit cards. I'm averaging about $5,000 to $6,000 of credit card cashback every year.
Wow.
I'm not spending crazy amounts. You just have to play the game right. What is your credit score right now?
850.
You have a perfect credit score?
Yes, correct. According to Equifax.
850?
That's what they say. And my wife's is damn good too. She's just like 840 or 845 or something.
Damn. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. You have it on your phone?
I printed out a thing of it.
Oh, let me see. I've never seen someone with 850.
I haven't either. It surprised me when I saw it. Yeah. But do you want to see something crazy? Look at the available debt that I have, though.
850 credit score.
But look at how I could destroy myself, though. Look at the debt ceiling.
You have available to you $164,800.
Yeah. And just over the years, I think they just kept upping and upping and upping the limits. And I didn't even realize that until I checked that recently.
850. I've done over 200 cases. You have the highest score that I've seen.
Wow.
You haven't been doing bad, my friend. You haven't been doing bad. There you go. No wonder why you have all those good interests. Freaking go. Looking at your total amount of debt altogether, that brings you at $304,396. Total net worth for you and your wife, including your child and upcoming newborn. $334,848. Is this good? I would say yes. Is it great? I would say no. And you're going to know why as we transition together into what I think is going to be one of the most relevant segments for us, the money case, because now let's chat together about that imbalance. Now, our friend here, for the most part, has been doing pretty good when it comes to his finances. I feel like you have equity on most of the things that you own, but there is something that you're missing, and it's the option to work with the market. You've kind of had that old school mentality where things are, pretty clean, paid for, real estate, cars, pension, you have the right financial foundation. But again, you've not optimized your finance in ways that could give you that extra bump, right? When we think about your retirement, you're going to have that pension that's going to give you, right, $69,000 per year. Okay, it's probably going to inflate to like a sweet 80,000 or so by the time you retire, which is something that we can bet on.
Sure.
Now, something that I see and I witness from looking at your finances is one, you haven't prepared anything for your current child. Number two, you haven't prepared anything for your future child. And number three, you have not partake in anything with regards to the market.
Right.
So when I think about your finances, I like to think of three things: your needs, your wants, and your goal. Okay, and we're going to jump because I'm going to bring this together. Follow along, guys. This is going to be very insightful. Today, if I was to sum your needs, you come into 7,214. Okay? That is 71% of your income. We like it to be below 50. Well, what's out of line? It's a little bit of your food budget. 1,200 is expensive. It's a bunch of the little debts that you have left and right, such as the camper, the student loans, the little bit of credit card debt, and so on. So with regards to your wants, I want to keep it at around $500 or so.
Sure.
What does that leave you with your current income? That's about 2,200 or so right now that you can save on a monthly basis. I don't like it. I think that you can do more.
Okay.
And when I think about more, I think of what I refer to as the 777.
Okay.
When you go to the casino and you hit the jackpot, you have the 777, and that's the mental aspect that I want to create with you.
Sure.
This is how you're going to do it.
Okay.
$2,100. How are you going to segment that up? You're going to see this is going to come as a surprise. $700. That is for you to put into your Roth IRA. Okay? You're going to put that and invest it. That's going to allow you to max out your Roth IRA on a yearly basis. Starting from today, there is nothing that you can tell me other than your life needs something, your child needs something crazy emergency-wise that justifies you not maximizing your Roth IRA. This is the number one best financial decision that someone can make in their life with regards to planning for the future. Blank as that.
Sure. Understood.
What is the second seven? It's for your wife. Same shit. $700 for her. Boom. Into that Roth IRA. I calculated. What does that mean in terms of numbers? Those $700 that you're going to start contributing tomorrow, or actually in 2025, that means an extra per month when you retire of about $2,300 that you can withdraw. Okay? That's an extra $30K per year. So you're going to be at 80 when it comes to your pension, plus an extra 30 on the side. That's nice. Your wife is going to be even greater because she's starting earlier since she's young. Now here we're against the basic. But what is the third seven? And that, my friend, is for your children. And I want you to create it as follow. $200 per month is going to go to your unborn child that is going to come to life in a few months. Okay? By putting $200 from today until he's 18, and you have a couple plan that I'm about to approach and discuss, that child invested will have a head start of $120,000 to start his life. Okay? If you want to create the same scenario for your other child, it's about $520
for the catch-up time.
For the catch-up time.
Okay, understood. Wow.
Okay.
That's eye-opening. Wow. Okay.
The 777 is what you need to reach out to. You take care of you, you take care of your wife, and you take care of your child. The catch-up is going to come in right into play. You're going to invest that money. You have a few options. One is a 529 saving plan.
Okay.
That's going to be money that you put that is going to be earning tax-free, but that has to be used specifically either for education or for like her schooling and so on, that will arise through that. There is an option through that if she doesn't use the full amount of the 120 to convert that into a Roth IRA for her.
Oh, no kidding.
But just a portion of it.
Okay.
The other thing that you can do, if you don't know if she's going to pursue studies,
Right.
is to create what is referred to as a custodial account.
Okay.
The naming for it is UTMA or UJMA. And that is money that you can invest with no limit. On the 529, you have a limit, but don't worry, by investing that amount,
Right.
you're not crossing that limit.
Okay.
That you can invest as much as you want, but she will have to pay taxes when she withdraw. Now, there is a risk with that, is once the kid hit 18 years old, she has full authority on that.
Okay.
Whereas on the 529, there is a little bit of better control with that. So what's going to happen is that retirement-wise, you're going to have the pension and Roth IRA. You're going to be fine. $100,000 per year. Your wife is also going to max out her own Roth IRA. And because she's starting much younger, her amount is going to catapult much greater than you. Okay? We're looking at twice the amount that you will have by the time she retires because she's starting so much younger.
Okay.
And third thing is somehow with that 777, you have now that preparation that you were so afraid of with regards to your kids.
Yeah.
And when you think about investing that money, here are some of the positions that I personally like. This is no financial advice. This is what I would personally invest myself into. You have low index funds like VOO, QQQ, VGT, VTI. Okay, there is some dividend play on call options on the S&P 500 like SPYI, and I would get a little bit of my hands on crypto. Okay, 7% Bitcoin, 3% Ethereum. Skin in the game, you have the feet, but you don't have the full body in. Okay, what does that mean? Because the 777, my friend, is what a surprise, $2,100. But that's not enough. Because already I told you that you can save $2,200. I want you to push the limit a little bit more.
Sure.
And your saving rate target, your goal is that I want you to save $2,500 per month.
Okay.
$2,100 of which is already gone. So what do we do with the other $400? Let's speak about that. All right, let's look a little bit at some specific drugs for you. So, one of the big questions that you inquired is, what should I do with that damn camper? And I tell you, live your life. You deserve it. You can own it. I wouldn't do overpayment on it. Every single debt that you have right now, I want you to not overpay.
Okay.
Except for your damn credit card.
Yeah.
You're going to maintain payments as they are due. Because your rates, 2.9%, 3%, 5.3%. Okay, if that was over the 6% mark, I would tell you, okay, given the current economy,
Sure.
I would want for you to do that. But at 5.3, just let the payment flow through. I want you to maintain the mindset that you have with moving your money and getting that dopamine shot. This is a trick that you guys can use at home.
Yeah.
Continue to use those vaults. The big thing that I'm seeing with you that I'm afraid that I don't like, you only have $14,000 of cash in front of you. Most of your positions are illiquid.
Right.
Okay, it's either park into real estate, camper, assets, trucks, and stuff like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
As a family man, I would feel better if the $400 that you have, you put them on the side for higher emergencies. You don't have enough emergency with a family. I don't like it. $11,000 is a joke.
Would you prioritize that 777, taking all that, beefing out that emergency
No, I want you to
fund
catch
first?
up. You have an extra $400 a month.
With the 400, I see. Yeah.
But honestly, right now, something that I'm about to tell you that maybe you're not going to all like is I just want you to go a little bit more on your income.
Yeah.
I feel like, because you're working 8 months, you're going to have a baby that's going to come.
True.
So you have now from March to June.
Yeah.
I want you to get out there. I want you to get some more income, some more money coming through to welcome that child in, because we're going to have to cover for the salary of your partner that is not going to come through.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be able to reach that 777 that we want.
Yeah.
So in the immediate term, I want you to find a way, either through a little bit of additional work or hours at your work for the next few months, let's say 5 months,
Yeah.
just to pass the second speed.
Sure.
Like it's what I refer to as a financial sprint. Okay, the goal is for you to crank it. You're conditioning your mind. When I came back in January from my vacation in France, I was like, heck yeah, I need to make this happen. I'm gonna condition my mind like a ball. Okay. It might lead to a little bit of a like burnout, but I wouldn't see it this way, because in your mind, you're going to set yourself financially the right way to welcome that child when your wife is going to need your help on that front. I still want you to feel fresh when the child arrives, not burnout, but I need you to just crank a little bit more here. I would like for you to save an extra $3,000 or so before that child arrives,
Sure,
to bring your emergency fund to $15,000. So you find a way.
Well, that's
to
a
do
good
it.
Short-term goal. I mean, I feel that's definitely
Just like a quick sprint. You're like, "Allez, let's go." Okay.
And that's something too that with my line of work, they're always looking for people to do a short-term contract with something we call credit recovery for the kids that are struggling. It's kind of like a tutoring thing. There's vectors for that. I wouldn't be opposed to
Exactly.
to doing it.
And just speak with your wife about it. I think that the you will find, because in a way, I don't know, that's kind of how I see it. Hold me wrong, but your wife is kind of giving the effort of giving child and stuff.
You're definitely right.
And okay, how does my husband has changed his life since? Yeah, you've changed his life. Oh no, right before he's kind of cranking, showing me he's actually like game with me into that effort. So you're kind of showing that effort through.
That's a really good point. And yeah, I mean, in terms of bringing a child into the world, I mean, shout out to all the women out there, because they have 99% of the work. So what you say is definitely, I think, a thing. Yeah.
It's kind of, I want you to balance financially.
You're right. You're right.
I want also to balance with your emotion and contribution, where you can still hold that spot as an anchor for the family, and also kind of the perspective of your wife on it. We want to earn those good points.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really didn't think of that, to be totally honest with you. That's good.
Third thing that I want to tell you is, right now, the house, no problem. You just keep that shit going. 2.9%. Like, don't overpay. Just pay what is due. Don't take any HELOC on it. You have equity in the house. Is a massive emergency arise, you can always pull a HELOC on that house because you have so much equity. So you have about, $50,000, $60,000. I would rather you take a HELOC on a house versus credit card.
Right.
If something really drastic was about to happen.
Right.
Next thing, the cars. Well, the question I have for you is, do you need 2 trucks? You like that safety aspect. I hear it. And so because of the way you've managed your expenses on that front, I'm in approval of that spend.
Right.
Next thing that I want for us to interact with is just that mental aspect of what we've discussed with regards to your finance.
Yeah.
Today, you can fall under the satisfaction that for everything that I'm seeing here, you've made the right decisions.
Okay.
I was going to say, in some ways, I don't see many other ways you could have optimized your life better with the cards that you've played, other than playing a little bit more on the market.
Sure.
From the moment at which you've collected that $50,000 high yield saving account seal, I want you to start putting money into the market. Okay. That should be your primary source of investment. At that point, your safeguard on your pension, your safeguard on your retirement, your safeguard on your child's future. Just get some game in so that you benefit from the overall market. Okay. Yeah. I want you to live our discussion today, knowing that you've set your family the right way.
Okay.
Also by living in the present, and overall that you can be in the satisfaction, assuming that you're taking those right steps, that you guys and your family will be rightly set. Awesome. The last piece of comment that I want for you to take on, given your status in the family, is to contract what is referred to as a short-term life insurance.
I was going to ask you about that.
Okay. For example, I believe that Lemonade potentially has that as well, but any
the house,
contractor,
if nothing else, if something happened to me, that mortgage could be maybe paid or whatever.
So what I want you to take is what is referred as a $500,000
okay.
short-term life insurance.
Yeah.
assuming you're in good health, I would take one for your wife as well.
Okay.
You guys are going to put yourself as the beneficiaries with a portion of your children too. And that's going to cost you $50 a month. Okay. Maybe a little bit more, 60 or so.
Right.
No problem. Just take it.
Okay.
If something arises, and I've seen that case happening multiple times.
And it often does, let's be honest. Life is
Right.
chaotic. You hope for the best, but as you're saying, you set yourself up for the worst. And then, hey, if it works out, all the better.
Exactly.
Lemonade is the name of that?
Lemonade is a
Okay.
good one. They do have that.
Okay.
And I love them. I have myself through
Okay.
them. Final thing. In about 3 to 5 years, I want to put that scene in your mind. I want you to create what is referred to as a revocable living trust.
Sure. I've heard you talk about that before, yeah.
This is going to be solid estate planning that you can contract as you're pretty young. You can put all of the assets through that. It makes it very easy for your kids. Again, my goal right now is for you to get that balance by knowing that you've not only set yourself for success, but you are a financial shield to what could happen to your family.
That's a good way of putting it. It's an eye-opening way of putting it.
And if you're able to put those processes in place, I think that finally you will find your peace.
Very good.
What do you have to say to finish our discussion together?
I'm grateful for the advice and grateful that I was lucky enough to be here to get it. So thank you so much. This has been a wonderful experience.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for following along through this journey. We'll be following up with you, but somehow I have a good feeling that you're going to be all right. I fully believe in you on that front.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure, Rick, to have you on the show. Thank you for coming all the way from Minnesota. We invite you guys to like and subscribe, as well as see our other cases that are very interesting too. Until then, I see you guys next time. À bientôt.
Hello, Rick. This is Romain. How you doing, mate?
I am real well.
Tell me a little bit more about what have been some of the actions that you've taken since we've discussed together.
When I was on the show, it was like 11,500 that I had in that emergency fund.
Yep.
And now it's 13,500. So we should be to
Nice.
we should actually be over 15 by June. So we're looking good with that. One thing I can't decide what to do, and you give me some feedback on this, because like with the market just going bananas, especially within the past 3 to 4 weeks, I've been hesitant to like trickle money into those SoFi brokerages. So basically I've been like just putting just more into those vaults, and I was just wondering, like, is it something that I should do toward the end of this year, throw it in and then distribute it based on the percentage that we talked about?
You move your money on a daily basis. Why don't you just do the same thing instead of putting it on the suspension or the $25? Just invest every day into some of the positions that we discussed, and you're going to be all right. DCAing is one of the best things that you can do. Right now is a decent time to get into the market, because prices are slightly discounted. I wouldn't go all in yet because we don't know how the market is going to react. But I would still try to get your hand in the game. It's fine. We never know when it's going to be the bottom, when it's going to be the top. We never really know that. So there is never a bad time to start investing into it, and you're okay, because at its root, you're going to be a long-term investor. So you shouldn't be too much impacted by the fluctuation of the market. In fact, just to give you some perspective, I lost $21,000 last month in my stock portfolio, right? And I'm not sleeping any different. Actually, I'm really happy that it happened, because it allowed me to buy a little bit more at a discount price. So that's how I want for you to start thinking about the money that you invest into that. You don't really care for performance. You're just betting on the long-term aspect, because you know you will win at the end of the day.
Yeah, okay.
Speaking of which, have you considered the 777 for the Roth IRA, your wife, and your children?
Yep, and that's what I was just going to say. So sitting in one of those vaults, I've got about $1,600 in one of the vaults there. So we're not quite to that 2,100, but getting there.
Okay, that's good. That's going to give you the peace of mind that we've discussed for your financial stability. I think that's such an important key for you that I would want for you to thrive towards. But I'm not too concerned. I think you're going to make it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's nice having, after our conversation, It's just nice having the clarity too, because another thing that we did too, I got a $500,000 term life, like we talked about too.
That's good. That's good.
Yep.
How much is that per month?
40 some bucks, like
Perfect.
41 or 42 bucks.
Very good, man. It's all coming together. I feel like it's nice, man. You know, good luck with the newborn. Excited again, and it was a pleasure, man. Okay.
Thank you again for your time and advice and the experience of coming out. That was a lot of fun. That was a really neat way just to kind of break up the spring and experience something new and fun.